All right, what is going on, everybody? Thank you for tuning in. I'm your host, Riley McShane of Allegion, here with the one and only Devin Townsend. How's it going, dude?
I'm good, man. We're just talking about your self-scooping litter box.
Yeah,
Please continue.
so we were talking about the. I bought like two self-scooping litter boxes, and they were like the worst investment I've ever made as an adult because like they've got this mechanism at the back that's like a sand rake, like you see in like those like bonsai gardens, and
Mhm.
and it pulls down and it scoops it up and then like drops it into a little container, but like the claws don't quite reach the bottom, so you end up with this like subterranean shit layer that's just horrible. uh
Sounds like a good band name, by the way.
yeah, right. It's fucking new grindcore project. Here we go.
I wonder if you could rig it up yourself. You know, like those machines that you have the claw that you drop down and you know what I mean? You can just do it remotely, have an app for it where you could just like clean your litter box from the comfort of your car.
That's an app I want to have a meeting about.
What
Hit
would
us
it be
up.
called?
Fucking. Oh, it's fucking. Not Kitty Claus. That's too obvious. That's What
I
about
don't know, man. That's pretty good.
Kitty Claus?
If it's
Kitty Claus
spelled
might work.
Clause.
Yeah. like
Good
Santa
to see you,
Claus.
man. How you doing? Yeah,
Oh
man.
my god.
I think this whole year has devolved to the point where this becomes what the music industry is ultimately based around is the things that connect us, which is the fact that cats are assholes and we all have Groundhog's Day every day in which the cat plays a passive aggressive role in. At
Hmm.
least mine does. Like it just I don't know, man. Anyway, heavy metal. How you doing?
Heavy metal. Hell yeah,
Yeah.
brother. So, um, little background in case those of you who are joining us, have been stuck in the 1980s for the past 50. Has it been? It's been almost 40 years since the 1980s. That fucking.
Oh yeah, it has, man.
It has been 40 years since 1980.
Oh yeah,
Oh
it
my
has.
god.
I
Anyway,
remember in 1980 looking at the radio and thinking, "Oh, this is a good year for music." I would have been 8.
yeah, yeah. I was born in '88, so I just caught the last tail end. But anyway, if you in case you've been living in a subterranean shit layer for the past 40 years, this is Devin Townsend. He
Yeah,
uh, you know
it does
prolific
stuff.
songwriter, producer, musician, making progressive metal and blending tons of diverse styles of music. Uh, you released like something like 25 albums in your career. Wild. Um, it's a lot of music.
Yeah,
So
man.
yeah, I'm sitting on like 6 or 7, and I'm just like, yeah, it's been like 10 years. I've released some albums. It's cool. We've got some under the belt, and then I see, you know, guys like you, and I'm like, holy shit, I've got a long
Well,
way to
I mean,
go.
it's if I think if releasing records is like we're doing it like a marathon, then I
Yeah,
think that would probably be unhealthy. But for me, it's I just keep releasing things because it's just kind of like what I do, and it's not only my job, but it's my hobby, and I love doing it, and I've been fortunate enough to sort of carve out a career for myself in which the audience that I'm fortunate to have expects that whatever I do following the prior thing is going to be, oftentimes the opposite. So
right.
it keeps me interested, and I think I'm just emotionally really stunted, and so having an outlet that I can kind of get it all out it becomes more practical for me than any sort of benchmark where I'm saying, dude, we're on record, whatever,
Yeah.
22, and here's the size of my genitalia as a result.
That just be
Spoiler alert,
that would
small.
that would just be inconvenient. That would just every time you
Having a
release a record.
small penis, it's so true. It gets it
Yeah,
done though.
yeah, It's not the size of the vessel; it's the motion of the commotion.
Got to work the boards.
That's right. So I see you're wearing a beautiful coat, Canadian winter,
Well,
doing the
as we
thing.
had said right before this started, this started as an ironic purchase. It was like I saw it at I think it was an H&M in Vancouver, and it was just so ridiculous. It's like it looked like a stuffed polar bear, And so I bought it with a real sense of, ha ha, isn't this a terrible jacket? But I've ended up living in it this year because there's no one really to have to be fashionable for. I've been married for 30 some odd years, and my kids are going to make fun of me no matter what I wear. So I figure, oh, it's warm. But it no longer resembles a polar bear stuffy. Now it's just this odoriferous kind of beige thing.
Yeah, yeah. I like
Warm
it.
though.
I
Yeah.
think it sets a mood. It sets a mood. I think
Yeah.
that
Douche.
the best mood there is.
Yeah,
So,
man.
you know, as you just kind of mentioned, you're always working on music, keeping yourself busy with various projects. Maybe even more so now, with the addition of the podcast last year and the foray into Twitch streaming and live streamed events and all that. It's safe to say you're adapting and not just really sitting around. Um, Looking at your Twitter, it looks like you've been working on that multimedia project puzzle,
Mm.
uh, and I couldn't tell from the reading that I did. So is Snuggle like a puzzle counterpart?
Yeah. Well, let me give you an overview on it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I did a ton of stuff. I mean, immediately upon the tour being canceled last year, we were right in the middle of it in America, and we were at actually the Graceland hotel, and under some dubious image of Elvis, and we canceled, and I came home, but I had already been sick, so I had to go into quarantine for 14 days. And during that time, I was like, well, where are you going to quarantine? So I just locked myself in my studio. I figured that was the thing. And then, the family would just drop off plates of grundles outside the door. And I was just here, and I was sick, but I thought, well, I might as well just get started and seeing where things are going to go. Even from the beginning, I had a sense that this was not going to be a quick turnaround for things to come back to normal. So it started that I had had a lot of support from the audience, and I wanted to do something in return. And so I started doing the streaming concerts from here, and we raised several €100,000 for hospitals at first, which was great. And then that process, as I'm sure you're well aware of, learning how to get through Streamlabs and the OBS and all the little problems that come into it, because I don't know if any of you remember this problem, but I couldn't even get a webcam. They were all sold out immediately. So each thing had problems. So I got a GoPro, but that required an interface. And then there was a 10-second delay. And then everything has this sort of sequence of problems to solve. And so by doing that, it just seemed like every new skill set fed into another thing that I could experiment with. And I do really enjoy learning. So then it became Twitch, and then podcasts, and then the guitar ambient records and mixes and all sorts of things started happening. And a lot of that was because I wanted to show the audience that I appreciate their support, because I do. But also I was trying to figure out where I was at. And a lot of my creative process, the majority of it, revolves around me trying to just reflect what's going on in my current reality. So I have something objective that I can then participate in and say, oh, that's where you're at. It's like I don't know, man. I can't see it while it's happening. It's really annoying. But I started writing, and I wrote maybe 30 songs, all of which I thought were cool, but very much like what I had been doing, like with Empath or EpicCloud or any of those sorts of things. And it just didn't seem to fit. And so even though it was coming out, I was like, I don't know, this doesn't reflect this. It's just this weird thing. And so one of the projects I started doing on the side was these guitar ambient experiments that I would put up on YouTube. And they were all, I was trying to figure it out. And then once I started getting that process together, these two pieces of music started to evolve. One of which was really chaotic and really dark, and one of which was very beautiful and sort of calming, as is always sort of the case, Ghost, Deconstruction, Ocean Machine, City, whatever. And and I really love ambient music. But what I really started feeling compelled to do, and what ultimately the puzzle became, was the more I listened to this ambient music, the more I started hearing things in it. You know, like when you're looking at clouds or what have you, it's like
Hmm.
faces or whatever start appearing. And the same thing within these sort of clouds ambience. It's, well, there's a melody in there, there's a rhythm, or there's, I can hear this sort of distant symphony evolving in these jams. And having experimented with orchestral music and symphonic ideas, I really like that idea of like one piece of music that follows this kind of dynamic trajectory that ends up being a narrative in some way. And so I just kept um, sort of listening to these ambient jams, the chaotic one and the peaceful one, and adding to it. And then I got a hold of musician friends that I knew. It started with drummer Morgan, who I had toured with and played with for many years now. I said, listen, in there's a bunch of rhythms. Can you just like sketch out those rhythms for me? You know, I've got something in there that is like a fence post or a signpost that you can follow. And then he sent back really light rhythms. And then I started saying, okay, well, cool. What I could do with that is I'll split these pieces up into like 40 sections. And then I will extrapolate from his performance like a tempo map and then quantize it all and then separate. And then it became this really interesting narrative to me. And I thought, well, you know, there's so many people that I know, so many musicians that I know from all over the world. And we're all dealing with the same thing. We're all trying to deal with these shitty Zoom calls and you know, all the, regardless on what side of the fence you're on, politically or socially, we have to deal with it. It's just, that's it, you know, on one way or another. So everybody has to deal with it. So what I started doing was taking these pieces of music in two pieces, and then I sent them to about 40 people. And and they said, well, what do you want us to do to it? And I said, well, listen to it. I've got a bunch of real rudimentary sketches in there. Do whatever you want to it. Send it back to me. And then every day I would get hundreds of files. And then I would start to mix it. And then I'd start to listen to what people have done, make decisions about what should be the focus, and then take those things and start to write with them. And then I would mix it and then I send it out again. And then people would listen to it, new people, and they'd do whatever they want to it, send it back to me, mix it, send it out again. And it became, in essence, like this slow motion jam between tons and tons of people, like and people from all walks of life. You know, my buddy that works at the gravel pit, I said, you know, do whatever you want to it. He's not even a musician, just like do something to it, yell on it.
Yeah.
And then I sent it to these genius musicians and players that I have known and worked with, and they did their thing to it. And then as that started coming together, I started hearing in this dynamic flow of these things a narrative in a sense. And I thought, well, you know, I love the idea of a visual counterpart to music. And because this thing has got an orchestral kind of flow to it, not orchestral because it's not that type of music. It's like some of it's metal, some of it's ambient, some of it's quiet,
Right.
whatever, right?
Right.
But then I said, okay, well, let's make a film out of this. So I contacted these animators, these 3D animators, these people that do these fractal, this Mandelbulb fractal stuff that's incredible. And this guy that does all these Hollywood style filming productions. And then I started putting together a film. And then I contacted a guy about a graphic novel and somebody else about an actual novel. And then the box set, dude, it's crazy. But ultimately, and I'll shut up in a second, I promise. It's like ultimately what has occurred with the puzzle is it becomes for me a document of this crazy year. It's not songs, it's not music in the traditional sense. I actually start an actual record in July that comes out in the beginning of next year that's much more in line with the Kingdoms and Deadheads and all this sort of thing. But what the puzzle is this crazy, super free form, super deep um, art project in a sense that incorporates a ton of people, a ton of different types of media, and is meant to sort of um, uh, document this experience and acts as like a way for all these musicians to connect in a time where we're not able to. And I'm done.
That is so sick. There's so many little things you said that I wanted to be like, oh, I totally get what you mean, but I didn't want to interrupt because it was such a in-depth explanation. But I will touch back to one thing because I also
Sure.
love listening to ambient music. Things like
Mm-hmm.
things like more like chilled out ambient stuff like Helios. all the
Yep.
way to like the Kilimanjaro Dark Jazz Ensemble and their live thing, the Mount Fuji Dune Jazz Corporation. And like what I've noticed is something that you said is that it's like, and it's such a like pretentious like let's shoot heroin and play jazz type of thing to say, but
I'm in, man.
it's such a like, no man, it's like the notes between the notes, it's what you gotta listen for. And it's like, but it's so true. It's like it really is like what they're presenting up front, especially on like the more just like purely ambient parts of the music, is this really layered. It's oftentimes not even in key with the other instruments, and it's just this kind of like dissonant kind of just almost like watching like an explosion in super slow motion, right? And it's cool because it's like within that, it's like, yeah, you could like see the explosion happening, but there's all these little pieces of like musical shrapnel that are kind of happening. um and
Totally.
it's
And what
super cool that you like kind of brought that up and mentioned that, because that's exactly what I get out of the ambient listening experience as well.
it's funny because a lot of the people that I involved with this, like buddies too. It's like not just these genius players that I know and I'm fortunate to be friendly with, but buddies of mine too. People who I've known for my whole life. I said, dude, I want you to be involved with this, even if you don't do anything. I just like to be able to include you on the thread so you can give me some feedback. And one friend of mine who I've known for 30 years or something, I said it's really weird to me because not afraid, but I'm nervous to put this out because it's expensive to do, and it's not songs. I said, people have this impression of what I do, whether or not it was with strapping or DTP or what have you, but it's songs,
Yeah.
Kingdom or whatever. And I said, but I'm not there right now. I just don't fucking care. And it seems like the irritation that I have felt this year over songs in general. Like I'll put on the radio and there'll be some singer songwriter telling me about love gone wrong and how they traversed over and I'm just like, dude, I don't care. I don't care. And it's like, it's funny because I was at first nervous about it because although this is based in this sort of free form musical thing, and again, I'll say this is sort of an anomaly in my career. This is a sort of a very unique thing that's kind of aside from my work, I guess, in a sense. And I said to my buddy, I was like, man, it just seems, I'm a little nervous about putting it out. And he goes, well, I got to tell you, man, I don't want to hear songs right now either. He
Yeah.
says, everything that's got some sort of lyrical objective, like these artists, it's like everybody has to deal with all this shit. Everybody's having to deal with divisiveness in the society, and your parents are freaking out, and your in-laws won't talk to your other in-laws because of different political leanings or whatever. And it just seems like right now having definite songs, it's just simply